There are unique workforce opportunities in agriculture and the food sector. Employers are seeking qualified candidates for planting, harvesting, food processing, marketing, researching, and selling healthy, quality food, beverage, and agri-food products. Today, through the Canadian Agriculture Partnership Funding, OFA, agcareers.com, and careersandfood.com, as well as various other partners, we have come together with coordinating a support system for agriculture and food employers and job seekers from field to fork to feed Ontario's future. Through the Feed Your Future initiative, you will see various programs that are essential to all areas of employers and job seekers and assist them with navigating the employment market that has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Feed Your Future team, with the support of agcareers.com and careersandfood.com, are delivering a concierge service for employers, job seekers, virtual career fairs, and webinars. And today we're thankful to have with us our two speakers, one of them, Connor McGrandles, which is joining us today. Connor is a graduate of Wilfrid Laurier University with a Bachelor of Arts in Communications. He is now working on completing his postgrad program at Conestoga College for Public Relations and Digital Marketing. He is currently an intern with the Feed Your Future campaign, working with agcareers.com. So welcome, Connor.
Good to be here.
Excellent. Kristen Kelderman is also with us today as our additional speaker. She is the marketing lead at Grover Nutrition, where she has worked for 4 years. Kristen graduated from the University of Guelph with a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, and she has spent most of her career in marketing and communication roles and has never let her science background limit her career possibilities and passion for connecting with people. Today, she will share some tactics, real-life experiences for navigating an unconventional way to look through and at your next career. Some of which she has personally used to gain in her current role. So she's excited to be here today, and we're happy to have her. So welcome, Kristen and Connor.
Thanks, Catherine. Happy to be here.
Very good. So we're going to start off, before I turn it over to both of you, with just a quick little poll. So we will have this poll pop up on your screen. So if you could answer the question, which of the following is not an opportunity for someone interested in the agriculture and food industry? So if you can just take a moment to fill out that poll, we will give a few moments, and then we are going to share the results. Just one more moment. If you're just joining us, if you could fill out the poll that has popped up on the screen, we then will share the results. I think that's probably lots of time for that short question, but so if we could share the results, hopefully that will work. Interesting. So which of the following is not an opportunity for someone interested in the agriculture and food industry? And as you can see, 6% chose engineering, 94% chose golfing, and 0% chose cooking. So we'll get into that as we have our two speakers obviously go through. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Connor.
Thank you, Catherine, for the introduction. So I'm just going to start here talking about career paths, just to get you thinking about your career path and what job that you may see yourself in at currently. So people have all different types of career paths. Some people go to college or university. Some people may join the military. Some people may go to work, or people might take a year off to save up. It's important when you're thinking about your career path to think about all the different opportunities you have going forward and not just rushing into a decision. For me, I went straight into university and then did a post-grad program right after I graduated from Laurier. So my mentality going into that was just to get school done with and start my career as soon as possible. But what's interesting with me is when I think about my career path, at no point did I ever think that I'd be working in the agricultural industry. So this is something I want you to think about as we go through these slides. Can you see yourself transitioning into agriculture, or is this something that already interests you? So I'm just going to move on to the next slide and ask you what you know about agriculture. So this is just a list of questions here that we're going to try and answer throughout the presentation. So hopefully we can aim to answer these questions for you and give you a better idea about the industry if you're like me and you don't have an agricultural background. So what is it? Who works in the industry? What do they do? Where do they work? And why do they do what they do? So I'm going to move to the next slide and ask, what type of jobs come to mind when you think of the agriculture industry? I know that 6 months ago, I would probably answer these three job positions: a farmer, a rancher, and a cowboy. So a lot of people don't know a lot about the agriculture industry, and these are the type of jobs that might come to mind right away. But there's a lot more positions within the industry available that you may not think of. So I'm going to start with this definition of agriculture here. Agriculture is the art and science of cultivating the soil, growing crops, and raising livestock. It includes preparation of plant and animal products for people to use and their distribution to markets. Agriculture provides most of the world's food and fabric. Cotton, wool, and leather are all agricultural products. Agriculture also provides wood for construction and paper use. So these products, as well as agricultural methods, may vary from one part to the world to another. Now we're going to look at the importance of agriculture. So when the COVID pandemic began, agriculture was one of only 13 sectors that were deemed essential. It also provides all the needs for human life, such as food, shelter, and clothing. So agriculture is something we need to eat, to stay warm, and to build homes. It's an essential part to our lives, and it's an essential industry that we need to help fill. In addition to this, agriculture needs you. So if we move to the next slide, you'll see that within a growing population, agriculture needs more people to join the industry to help feed our population. Farmers will need to grow about 70% more food than what is now produced, and less than 2% of Canadian farmers feed the other 98%. So while the operations are getting bigger, the amount of people operating them are getting smaller. So agriculture needs you to help them to continue to grow, innovate agricultural products as well as methods. There are a lot of sectors within agriculture that people may not think of, as I did myself when I was first coming into the industry. There's agricultural business, agricultural mechanics, animal science, environmental science, food science, natural resources, and plant science. Each of these sectors are a lot larger than you think, and there's numerous opportunities within them. So here are some in-demand careers in agriculture that you may not have thought about, and I know I didn't think about when I first went into the industry. So there's technicians in precision agriculture and equipment service technicians, sales and retail positions in all realms, customer support, transportation such as truck drivers, and in the food sector, we have food safety specialists, skilled trade positions such as millwrights, electricians, and maintenance managers, sales representatives and territory sales, quality assurance, and lab technician, as well as production and packaging technicians. So if you're like me and you're not from an agricultural background, you might find it interesting to see this wide variety of positions that are actually available within the industry. And this isn't even all of them. So we're going to move on and find all the unique agricultural food positions that personally I didn't even know were related to agriculture or even available. So there's a design engineer, an animal geneticist, flavor technician, wind turbine technicians, and athletic turf managers. So right away I look at an animal geneticist, and that's something to me that I found really interesting. A job that I'd never really heard of prior until last week. And what they do is they analyze the genetic makeup of animals in order to discover which genes cause them to behave in certain ways. And it's an interesting position and something that when you think of agriculture on a base level, you wouldn't really think of a position like this. And another one I found interesting that stood out to me within that list would be a flavor technologist. So what these people do is they develop and manufacture flavoring used in food and drink products. So it's another way that they're using science and science-related degrees and certificates to go towards the agriculture and food industry. So why can a job in agri-food benefit you? So I'm going to speak off personal experience for most of this. So no experience is bad experience. The advice I would give is to get out there and get some work experience, which can help you build up your resume and skills. Getting work experience in any type of industry is never a bad thing. So prior to starting my internship with Careers in Food and agcareers.com, I actually worked in a wood shop for 2 years. And going into that, I just thought, oh, well, it'll be a good summer job. It's not related to what I want to do, but it'll give me some money and it'll help me pay off my student loan and stuff like that. But I learned a lot more than I would have expected entering that position. I learned how to communicate with people that are older than me, different ages, work as a team, and also learned how to work under tight deadlines and pressure. So this is why I say that all work experience is good. Whether it's an entry-level position or position that you may not see related to your future, or if it's a position in agriculture that you don't find yourself comfortable with, don't be afraid to go outside your comfort zone and try something new, because in the end, it's going to build up your skills and your resume. Also, the ag and food industry is essential. It's built on job security. So as we touched on earlier, we're always going to need food, clothing, and shelter. These jobs aren't going to go anywhere, and they need people to help produce these things. Also, it can be a great way to get your foot in the door at a large company. So I've had a lot of questions about this at the virtual career fairs that we've been holding. So just last week, a job seeker actually asked me what would be the right step for her moving on in her career. So she was a third-year student going into her last year, interested in a career in quality assurance. She asked me what type of position should she be applying for within the career fair. She said a lot of them were already hiring for full-time quality assurance members and she didn't know what to do. So I told her to apply for just the general labor summer positions because it's a great way to get your foot in the door at a large company that may hire for quality assurance in the future. This will give somebody a better feel for the company, what they do, the environment, the values that the company hold, and the type of people that work there. So I told her to apply for these positions, which will help build up her resume and hopefully give her an advantage over future applicants. And lastly, there's a diverse option of career opportunities. As we've just discussed, there's a lot of different opportunities that you may not think of when you think of agriculture and food. And I know from my experience going into this internship, I looked at the job description and said, how is this going to help me when I didn't see myself in agriculture or food in my career path? So I looked at the job description and I saw that it actually relates directly to what I'm doing. I have the opportunity to grow my skills and my professional experience. And within the first month, I've learned so much about the industry, how big it is, how many opportunities there are within it. And it's just been a great experience so far. So that's my perspective from a non-agricultural background with limited experience in the industry. I hope so far that I've been able to expand your knowledge on the industry and help you understand the number of opportunities that are actually available within agriculture and food. So now I'm just going to hand it off to Kristen, who will talk from her experiences.
That's excellent, Connor. I might pause for a moment here because I have some questions for you if you're okay with that. One of the things that has been asked is, through your experience, you've been very outright that agriculture and food was perhaps not on your radar. From your experience in either high school or college, were opportunities such as the one that you're in now or some of those that you described, were they brought to your attention throughout your path, whether it be your education path?
No, I never really thought about a career in agriculture, and I was never told that there's these type of opportunities within the industry. So that's why I think with these virtual career fairs and webinars, it's great to spread the awareness that these type of positions do exist. and hopefully you can get more people like me that didn't really think of agriculture or a career path within agriculture to realize that there are opportunities that may relate to their skills and hopefully get them into the industry.
That's great. And there's several more questions, but I think just for the audience and the questions that are coming in, perhaps we'll pass this over to you, Kristen, and then go from there with more questions. Thanks, Connor. That was great and very interesting.
Excellent. Thanks, Connor. Thanks, Catherine. I'm going to jump right in here and share with everyone what I have prepared for today. So I'm very excited to be here and to share with you some unique ways to look for your next job opportunity. Personally, as Catherine mentioned, I've used some of these experiences and tips in my past jobs in communications and marketing roles. I'm going to go through a little bit of a thought process that you may consider. Oops, we're going to go ahead here. There we go. And explain how things have worked for me and how it could work for you. So let's jump right in here. So obviously it can be overwhelming to begin looking for any kind of job or employment. It's a blank map with little direction. But I'm here to tell you that it's not that scary. With a few guideposts, you're not that far away from landing and directing the career of your dreams. So let's begin with yourself. It seems simple enough, right? I think that we often skip this step and tend to jump right into job postings, company positions, and roles that have already been defined and outlined. And if I'm being truly honest, I think it should really be the other way around. So what exactly does this mean? Asking yourself some serious questions and reflecting specifically on things that what brings you joy, excitement, growth, and challenge when it comes to your career. Being honest with yourself and asking, are you happy with the role and the direction that you're in? What are your career goals? A different way to look at it might be to ask yourself, where do you see yourself professionally at the end of your career? And then kind of work your way backwards how you can get there. We're all very busy in our lives and we rarely stop to pause and think, except when we're forced to, like during these COVID times. But taking the time, reflecting, investing in yourself and your career are key components to seeing that growth and where you want to be. You could schedule quiet time in your schedule, research career planning options online, write in a notebook, go for a walk, whatever works for you. I fully believe in investing in this fundamental step for your career planning future, whether you're starting out or you're looking to make a change or you're looking to join a new company. And you might just surprise yourself by doing this exercise. Once you have a foundation of yourself, brainstorm companies and organizations that complement you. Think about, where do you want to work? Who do you want to work with? Who do you want your boss to be? Asking some of these questions and write down a list to match up employers or even individuals in positions that align with your career path and goals. The list might be long, but I think that's a great opportunity and can show you some of that growth that Connor was talking about in the industry. Once you start, you might have a hard time stopping. In my career move, I found myself really enjoying and learning more about marketing before I joined Grover. I was in a bit more of a traditional communications role, but as I took the time and identified that this is where I wanted to go, eventually it started my journey to landing my position with the company. Next, we're going to go and we're going to take some action. So this is going to be reaching out and connecting to gather insight, information, advice, market knowledge, and opinions from the field. There's many tactics that you could use to approach this, but basically you just want to connect with people. So how can you do that? Leverage your connections. My husband and I often joke that there really are only 3 degrees of separation in agriculture. We are a small community and we tend to know each other at least on some level. So don't be afraid to ask for an introduction from a friend, a colleague, a family member, a professor, someone who can put you in contact with who you're looking to connect with. Blindly reaching out can help too. It can work in these cases. I would recommend to reach out directly to a person versus a contact form on a website. has more of a personal feel to it. Research who's in the positions that you do want to target at those companies, find them on LinkedIn or social media, and send them a message to see what could happen. Overall, most people are friendly and they want to help. At least that's been my experience. Think about how you want to approach these individuals as well, and have a specific ask for them too. Do you want to meet for coffee? Or could you set up like 3 standard questions that they could answer over email? Ask yourself, what does this process look like for you? If you do plan to meet someone for coffee, have your questions written out and prepared beforehand, and take notes as you go along and you have a conversation with them. There's lots of resources online and through Ag Careers to position, inquisitive questions and to approach these conversations as well. So don't be shy. And remember to be respectful of people's time and to know what exactly you hope to get out of each interaction with that individual. So as we continue on, we're gonna say, you've spent the time working on yourself, you've met up with some people, you have a solid direction of where you wanna go, and kind of narrow down that to a short list of companies that you want to approach. I would say maybe 3 to 5 would be a good target to start with. A key value or a key part is to know what your value and what you bring to the table. So thinking of this a little bit more along the lines of a business case, how you can personally help position your skills, your expertise, and your knowledge to a company to help them improve and grow. If you're modest or you have a hard time, talking yourself up or identifying your strengths, ask your people, what makes you different? How do you work in a team? Why do people like you? Don't be afraid to ask those questions. It can really help build your confidence and help you with this value proposition. You can look to past job reviews or feedback on projects from peers to help identify your strengths as well. If you're unsure what a company might be lacking, it's time to do some detective work again. So go back through your network and see if you can connect with an employee to help you position yourself as a good candidate or hire.
So Krista, I'm going to pause you there for a second because I've got all these questions coming in from you and Connor, and I just thought that we might as well take a moment here.
Let's go.
One of the things is when you are looking at jobs in agriculture and food, is it something that, how do you get a hold of somebody? How do you reach out? How do you find the person to make that connection and know if you're in the right spot? And I'd actually like both of you, if possible, now that you've had a bit of experience in the industry, Connor, or perhaps what your opinion was before. And then Kristen, just if you could answer that too. How do you know how to get connected, and where should you look beyond obviously just job boards?
For sure, definitely. I'll share. I'm a big believer in, I would call it friendly stalking, maybe online. So the internet, I think it's pretty easy to find someone somewhere as long as you have a name and can do a Google search, which most people are very well equipped to. But doing some digging also on company website pages. So figuring out, going to their About Us page and looking for, the people in the positions that you're identifying that you are interested in that career path, using that as kind of a springboard to then look them up on Google, see where their career has gone and what they've done to achieve where they are. Also asking around for advice too from old teachers or professors, friends, if they know, of different companies or whatever, just really put yourself out there, be honest, and be willing to connect and take advice from other people.
Okay, and Connor, how would you answer that question, or where would you recommend for people to look?
Yeah, well, I would add on to what Kristen said there with your teachers. Don't be afraid to use them as resources and networking contacts, as well as LinkedIn. It can be a great thing to have. If you're looking at a certain company, you can go in, look at people in certain positions. Don't be afraid to reach out to them in LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm interested in moving into a similar role. Is there any advice you can give me about the company or just the job in general?
how do you get experience in agriculture and food, or how do you learn about the industry? Are there volunteer opportunities? What are some other things that people could look towards in order to learn, typically almost like a language in food production and agriculture? Kristen, you want to start with that one?
Sure, I will start with that one. I would say there's lots of opportunities to become involved and to volunteer. Things like on a more local level, if you're in a rural community, or even in a community. I live in Guelph, and there are still opportunities to connect with agriculture there. So things like your local fair. Most areas still have a local fair. If not a farmer's market, that's a great way to connect over food in agriculture. It doesn't have to be, you know, boots on the farm. In a lot of these positions, you can connect with someone on a farmer's market level. That's part of our industry that Connor was talking about. Outside of that, I don't know, maybe Connor, you want to jump in here, your experience?
Yeah, so coming from non-agriculture, I don't really know a lot about where to go, but I would say with my experience, just trying to learn more about the industry before entering it. I just did a lot of online research myself. You can find a lot of resources through even YouTube. There's a lot of videos that can teach you about the industry and the type of jobs available. And obviously I had a great training process that taught me a lot about the industry. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in there. There's organizations like Agscape that offer agriculture education. That is an area that I think that if you are a job seeker kind of interested in the industry, you could look to Agscape as a resource which provides agriculture education. Another group, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, Kristen, is Farm and Food Care, just learning about the industry, whether it be on the agriculture, crop, or food side of things. But right there, I'll pause and let you keep going because there's lots of other good information that I know you have ready. But I do have several other questions, so we'll pause again at the end.
Awesome. I love the questions. That's great. Thanks for your participation, everyone. Yeah, so I'll just keep plugging away here. The other point to keep in mind here, so I would also stress, you know, don't forget to highlight your soft skills when you're going to companies, you know, positioning them to help them achieve their goals. Again, taking the time to thoroughly set yourself up with your value proposition will kind of help for the next step that I'm going to go through. But just quickly, in my own personal scenario, as I was going through this process not too long ago, I met with 2 different companies and I pitched them on my digital communications and marketing savvy knowledge for social media. It was a market that both companies who I went to had not really tapped into. They knew that it was an area that they were interested in and they wanted to be in, but they just didn't know how to get there. I presented them with a solution, and at the end of the day, I had 2 offers on the table. So really helping companies and organizations see that you are the solution to their problems or challenges. So setting up your pitch, it's showtime. Let's say you've successfully landed a meeting with your top choice, your top company. Congratulations. Let's go over a few tips on how to make this go smoothly. So first, making sure to set your intentions. So being direct with your ask and to know who you're meeting with at the company or organization and what exactly their role is. Ideally, they would be in a hiring position or a management position that you would fit under. Keep it professional and practice what you want to say. So if you're interested in going into them and doing a formal PowerPoint presentation, you know, make it and then make sure that you have access to the resources and tools that you need to do that. You could also write out a proposal to complement your pitch to them to leave afterwards for them to read after your meeting. Or just thinking outside the box too. Leave them with an emailed link to a YouTube video to highlight your public speaking skills and video making skills. That's something different. Really setting yourself apart to be memorable and to make it hard for them to say no to you. Regardless, in some circumstances, there are things that are outside of our control in the industry, company budgets, timelines, marketing factors, etc., that, you might have got through all of this work and this personal development and growth, and that's an amazing process. But you might find yourself at the end of the day, unfortunately, with a rejection. And I'm also here to tell you to not let that get you down. You've done the work, and your next pitch or your next meeting, it'll go even smoother. Making the connection, showing your initiative, being a leader in that space, it will put you ahead eventually in the future. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you never really know where your future is going to lead you. Making connections, making those networking, and expanding your understanding and your connections to who is out there. Those are really valuable tools and resources for agriculture. And we are an industry built on people. So remembering that even though the answer might be no right now, it's not no, it might not be no forever. Or, who knows how that may come to light in the future. So I framed today's presentation and my experience around working for a company or an organization, as that's been my personal experience. But you could easily take these similar steps too, to starting your own business or to launching a product. So if you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, that drive, that get up and go, I highly recommend you to also look down that route as well. Years ago, I received a piece of advice that the answer is no until you ask. So keep asking. The opportunities that exist outside of job postings, they're not always easy to access, but it could be the gateway to a career that you love. So with that, I will pass it back over. And I think, Connor, you've got a couple other slides here. And Catherine, any more questions? I'm happy to answer too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that came in is, would you recommend looking at job boards to be able to see who is hiring? And is that an opportunity to find out more about companies in the industry? What is your experience with that?
Yes, absolutely, for sure. I think that's maybe to go along with sort of that first reflective piece as well. Job boards are a great way to kind of get a pulse on the industry and to see, how, is a job in marketing and communications really hot, and are there lots of options, or is sales kind of more along those lines of being really hot and the area to target? So for sure, they're very valuable and very useful. They're a great tool, and certainly the traditional route of applying for jobs that way too is it gives you great experience and insight. And again, even if you apply, you do an interview that way, it gives you that connection point too. You're able to now have that person in your network and to eventually, reach out to them. It might not be the right position now, but for the future, you never know where a company may be going or what a manager may be looking for in the future too.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about more we see in the news right now, obviously, about the effects of COVID, the fact that farmers are looking for help when it comes to either planting their crops. Some are obviously in the process of harvesting their crops. What are some skills? Often we hear in the news that individuals are not willing to work in those jobs. What are some critical things that you could learn from picking asparagus, picking strawberries? Connor, you mentioned working at a wood shop. Can you talk a little bit more about some of those areas of opportunity to not perhaps just disregard?
Well, yeah. So for me, working there was something that I would never really think of. It was the reason I took the job was I'd been at McDonald's for a while. I wanted something new, and it was a perfect schedule for me, 40 hours a week, which I wasn't guaranteed in my other job. So these jobs, they're very stable jobs that will give you the experience that you need to take your career to the next step, whether it's just building the soft skills that you just mentioned, just the interpersonal relationships, working side by side. I was working daily side by side with the owner. So you're under pressure and you're working with people that have worked their way up, and they can teach you things. And I got an opportunity out of it as well to actually design their website, which related to what I wanted to do. So these things are hidden sometimes. You may not expect them to come, but they wanted to grow. They asked me if I could do it, and I took that up. So I would say any experience is good experience. Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and take a job that you might not expect you'll like, but you end up loving. And I loved every minute of those 2 years in a warm wood shop in the middle of July. So
In a warm wood shop in July. Fair. That's fair. How about you, Kristen, from your experience? I know that perhaps you have some hands-on experience that aren't necessarily working on a computer, but instead another part of the full value chain.
For sure, for sure. So I grew up on a dairy farm, and I will tell you, I did my fair share of labored work in my early years and into my high school years as well. I think I really value that part of my experience of farming and that opportunity that my parents gave me. They weren't always the easiest bosses, but I did, looking back now and as an adult, you learn to appreciate things a little bit more. So I would say, yes, some of those jobs are very labor intensive, but you do learn to appreciate the value of hard work and what that looks like and what that means. It might not always be, back-breaking work, but it could be long hours. You learn to value and grow as a team together. On my family farm, it was my parents and myself and my other 4 siblings that farmed together. So really learning how to work together as a team, communications as well. So that's certainly a fundamental core value of farming, and how you communicate and as a team and as a unit. I think for agriculture in general, the pleasure of seeing results as well. If you're a results-driven individual, that's something that it might not happen today, it might not happen tomorrow, but from spring to fall, planting to harvest, you see an incredible amount of change in a short amount of time, and seeing how that food or those crops or that livestock, how they're developed over that time is really gives you a sense of purpose and the bigger picture as to feeding Canadians, feeding the world. And to me, that's a really valuable skill, and something that I take with me is that piece of agriculture every day, and how much work and effort and teamwork goes into that.
Okay, so that actually leads into another question that just came through, which is around what are the hours of working in the food industry and the agriculture industry? Because we hear quite a variance. Obviously, each of you are working in roles in working with companies or agribusiness and food. There's obviously farming, production, there's the processing side. What can people expect from hours of work, and what is the variety that is available in our industry?
Absolutely. I'll jump in on that one to get us started. And I think it really depends on, where you work. Just as you mentioned, Catherine, it can vary greatly. So, starting on the farm, those hours, those days, they can vary greatly depending on the cycle of the year. So we tend to follow a very cyclical seasonal cycle. So, planting in the spring, summer involves harvest and hay if you're a dairy or a goat farmer. It could involve spraying crops throughout the year of the summer, and then fall looking into harvest. Those days are, can be quite long and are 7 days a week. Oftentimes Mother Nature is your boss. You don't know what's coming down the line, and you might have to change your plan and work a 18, 20-hour day just to get it in before the weather comes in. If we look, more towards the sales side of it, I know those industries, I work with our sales team at Grover quite closely, And again, that kind of tends to follow the farmer's lead. What are they needing? What are they doing on the farm? For our industry in nutrition, the winter is quite busy for us with meetings and education and whatnot. And we take a little bit of a step back in the summertime to let the farmers do what they need to do in the field. So it really depends on what segment of the industry you work in. If you're in the crop protection side, you know, kind of that January into the springtime is very busy for you planning, and then also providing support throughout the summer. So that part can be quite busy, and it's beyond your 9 to 5 day. But then individuals like myself, as you said, Catherine, working in the industry, we do have a little bit more structure for our days. But also our company motto and my motto is, you know, I'm there to help whenever I need to, whenever I can. So depending on, you know, what you're looking for, those hours could be a little bit fluctuating as well. So yeah, that's my experience.
Very good. So Connor, do you want to speak to that a little bit? Because often we hear about, you know, farmers and long hours. What from your perspective are things that we could tell people that are interested in perhaps a career in agriculture and food, but don't necessarily have someone directly to ask?
Yeah, I think there's lots of opportunity there's a lot of variance, as you said. So there's a lot of jobs that are structured, whether it's 7 to 3, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, or then you have your jobs where they're labor intensive or they're on the farm, and the hours do vary. But I feel like there is a wide range of availability. And for anybody that's asking, especially from the experience that I can speak of, working 8:30 to 5, there's definitely those structured jobs available. If something like the agribusiness, you're working business hours for the most part rather than long 14-hour days, which people might think of when they just look into the industry without knowing a lot about what goes on within it.
Very good. Thank you. So we're going to go to the next slide, and I'm going to have you kind of cover this, Connor, and then I have some more questions that have come in.
Yeah, so we did a survey within the team at Careers in Food and agcareers.com. And there is a wide variety of different people from different backgrounds within our team. So we felt it was a good audience to kind of survey to see the different results. Only 40% of people said that agriculture and food was their first choice. And they also gave a lot of good advice on how to land a job within agriculture and food. So the first one I have here says, look for a job that highlights your skill set while looking somewhere you can grow. Follow up, be punctual, and value the employer's time. Ask questions and get excited. There's also a lot of opportunities, so don't be afraid to start in a lower position and try to climb up the ladder. And to do your research, there are so many diverse job opportunities within agriculture that you may not think of. Just because you're in agriculture doesn't mean you have to be on a farm unless you want to be. And also we have sort of a word cloud on the left there, and that's the answers to the question that we asked, why do you enjoy working in agriculture? And a lot of these answers were to do with the people, the community, the sense of belonging within the industry, as well as things such as vital, because the industry is so essential and we are seeing a growing demand for these jobs, as well as world stability and feed the future, all those sort of words that tied in together on why people love being in this industry and why they want more people to join them within the agricultural industry.
I think that's one great point that you've made, is the people, the community, the support. I think, you know, I'll use my own perspective. I have a young family, work full time, we farm full time. And with the pandemic, it definitely has made you think about the things that are important, the priorities in your life, by perhaps the pace slowing down in one way, but speeding up in another. It is the community of individuals that you spend a lot of time at work, and finding the right people to work with. I do believe that that's something that perhaps, because individuals in the food industry and agriculture just go about their work, don't always necessarily share this component. And I think these words in this word cloud really show the key strengths of working in agriculture and food. So the one word that really stuck out was stability. So could you speak to that a little bit, especially during the interesting time that we are in with the pandemic, food, recognizing where your food comes from? Would you like to just answer in regards to why is stability something that has come up on this word cloud, Kristen?
Absolutely. And in my own personal reflecting over the last 4 months, that's been something that has been top of mind for sure. And having the stability of a job that, I may not be putting my boots on at 5 o'clock every morning and going out to milk the cows or start the tractor, but I am part of this community and this industry. And maybe some of the pieces that are often forgot about within agriculture are all the individuals that support the farmer. And the farmer is that one who we look to produce the food. But the way we've structured agriculture is the farmer is a generalist, and he requires many different specialists to come in and help him run his business and provide tools and resources and support to them. Him or her, I should say, farmer. And so, we in agriculture, whether you're in sales or marketing or working as a truck driver or a communicator, those pieces are essential to support our system that we've built, both on the farm, in the processing side of it, and in the distribution end as well. So the stability part of agriculture is dependent on people to bring that food right from the grassroots all the way through to the grocery store. So it is an essential service, and we are very fortunate to have the capabilities to have a community and an industry built very well and with dedicated individuals that we've seen over the last 4 months here in Canada.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I think that is an important point for our audience to hear. I think something that I wanted to touch base with you on, Connor, and a question that just came in was, what is your favorite part now that you have experienced working in agriculture and food? What's the thing that rises to the top of something that you would share with our audience?
Well, two reasons I would say there is one, I'm constantly learning. So every day I learn something new about not only the industry, but the people within the industry themselves. And in addition to that, just this, again, the sense of community, great team, working very closely every day. And then sometimes on the phone to the farmers that are out in the field, learning what their day is like. I had a call the other week with a guy who was actually on the field, and he's like, "Oh, I'm actually busy right now. I'm working on the field. Can you call me back in a couple hours and maybe I can get back to you?" So it's constantly learning the different schedules of people, and just getting that sense of community within the industry that's been my favorite part so far.
No, excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that most definitely. What are some of the sectors that, obviously you covered that, some of that at the beginning, Connor, with speaking on some of the roles, the flavorists, technologists that you mentioned. We asked at the beginning a poll question, and it was engineering, cooking, and I believe it was golfing was the other answer. And majority did pick that golfing was not necessarily a career in agriculture and food. So can we expand a little bit on that, just to help our audience perhaps understand how it would be connected?
Yeah, well, there are athletic turf management positions within the industry. So that's maintaining sports field, different from all sports, as well as, so golfing would be the biggest one because there's so many golf courses around here. But you look at every pro sports team, whether it be soccer, rugby, football, if they have a grass field, baseball, all these grounds need maintaining. And there are jobs within that, and there are programs at universities and colleges throughout Ontario that support the training for those positions. So if you're like me and you can't quite make it professional at golf, you might as well get connected to the game somehow and get there and maintain the turf.
That's excellent. No, that's a great example and kind of clears up the question at the beginning. I guess the other thing that has been asked is it industry full of men, or are there opportunities for women, especially when it comes to apprenticeships and other roles that we've talked about today? Kristen, do you mind covering this one? I won't put Connor on the spot here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say this is something that gets a lot more, or has become a lot more apparent in the last 10 to 15 years in agriculture. I'll share with you guys today. Our sales team is, traditional sales, working with farmers. Our sales team is primarily women at Grover, and that's something that has certainly, I would say, changed in the last 15 years. Out on farm. But we're seeing more and more women going through for veterinary schooling and some of those more hands-on type positions in agriculture. And the balance that we're seeing now is both right from the farm all the way to those support industries. More and more of a 50-50 balance of men and women. Each and every day. That's not to say every company or industry is structured like that, but we are seeing that movement forward. And it's an amazing thing for agriculture to continue to grow and accept. In the apprenticeship side of things, I don't have a lot of experience. It's mostly individuals who I've talked to or who I know about, but definitely more women, engineers and electricians that I've worked with in the last number of years, who are fulfilling those roles and those positions. And maybe at one time it might have been more of a physical role, but as we're seeing the adoption of technology and different business structures come up, it's more accessible for women and other individuals to be able to fulfill those jobs and those roles on farms. And it's great to see the diversity out there, not only in gender but also ethnicity and race that we're seeing here in Canada. So certainly breaking some of those barriers and growing as an industry is a positive outlook for Canadian agriculture.
Sure, and I will follow that. Obviously, having roles that are open to all individuals and really based on skill set. One of the other questions that has come through is, what about individuals looking for second careers, more mature adults looking for a new career? What advice would you give them if they don't necessarily have experience in the agriculture or food industry? And are companies hiring based on more part-time roles?
Good question. The part-time roles, I would say for sure, especially now as we see, I'll use the example from communications and marketing side. So at one point, larger companies may have used agencies to do a lot of work in terms of, putting together campaigns or traditional marketing and communications pieces. We've seen a little bit of a shift, I would say, in agriculture, where we've taken some of those responsibilities in-house. My position is a perfect example of that. So those positions, I would say, have become, especially now with the use of technology and Zoom and being able to work from home, there's a lot more flexibility in exactly, what you would need to, or what a company is looking for and what you need to provide. So flexibility in terms of the technology side has offered us, I would say, more part-time options or consulting work too. I've seen a lot more individuals, not necessarily just working for one company, but opening up to the consulting world, whether you want to do video production or, copyright for a specific industry or photography. Like those kind of positions are really quite vast, and companies are looking to fulfill them, maybe not with one specific body, but to have resources and access to those people and individuals.
Okay, great. Connor, do you have anything to add to that in respect to perhaps somebody that is more mature in their career or has been working and looking for a second career?
Yeah, well, I think that human resources enjoy when mature adults look to transfer their careers. So I think that a chat with somebody in HR about how to transfer the skills that they've obtained through their first career is a good way to start. In addition to that, I feel like a lot of the positions people in human resources struggle to fill. So they're always looking for new talent, no matter the age of the people, to fill those positions.
Oh, that's great. Thank you both for answering that question. That's a great question that came in, and thank you for the participant of the webinar for asking that. So I think in essence of time, we will keep going here, and I really appreciate you both taking the time to share your experiences and obviously speaking about some of the tips from your perspective. It is very much appreciated by our Feed Your Future team. And if we go to the next slide, you will see some additional information on some of the toolkits that we have developed in order to try to provide resources to job seekers and employers across the full value chain in Ontario through the Feed Your Future initiative. And we do have a concierge team, as we mentioned, who are organizing the virtual career fair events. If you take a look at these individuals, they're here to answer your questions and be able to help you. Our next event on the next slide is the virtual career fairs, and here is a list. The virtual career fairs is really worth checking out. We have an event actually tomorrow. If you just flip to the next slide, from 2 to 5 in Renfrew, Lanark, Ottawa, Belleville, and surrounding areas. So it's quite a wide span. We have several employers who are signed up to have a booth at the virtual career fair. And some of these awesome careers that have been mentioned today and jobs will be showcased at this virtual career fair. There is no cost to attend as a job seeker, so we do encourage you to check out the virtual career fairs that are coming up, not just tomorrow, but in the next couple months. And then we do have a series of webinars, as we mentioned at the beginning, that will be included. Agri-Food, workplace safety, learning the basics. And if you're new to agriculture and you're in a job but want to know a little bit more information of how to guide your staff members, there is a webinar coming up the second week of July that would be a great fit. And then finally, obviously through the Canadian Agriculture Partnership Funding, OFA, agcareers.com and careersandfood.com. If you take a look at the next slide, you will see how we have partnered together, coming together to coordinate support for the agriculture and food system to be able to provide nutritional food from field to fork to feed Ontario's future. This collaboration obviously launched the Feed Your Future initiative. And I just would like to say, Connor, Kristen, thank you so much for presenting our webinar today. A lot of great insight and knowledge. And these are our partners and how you can get a hold of our team if you have any further questions. This webinar will be online for future use, and we just really appreciate both of you sharing today. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.